Most people will work for 40 years, clock in every single morning, trade their time, their energy, their youth, and still never see $100,000 sitting in one place with their name on it. Let that sink in for a second. Not because they weren't smart enough, not because they weren't working hard enough, but because nobody ever told them the brutal, uncomfortable truth about how money actually compounds, and why the first $100,000 is a completely different game than everything that comes after it. Here is what the financial system never teaches you in school. Money doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows in a curve. A slow, painfully flat curve at the beginning, and then suddenly, almost violently, it starts bending upward in a way that feels almost unfair. And the only way to reach that bend, that magical inflection point where money starts working harder than you do, is to survive the grind of building that first $100,000. Charlie Munger, the billionaire partner of Warren Buffett, once said that the first $100,000 is a B. His words, not mine. And if one of the greatest investors in human history used that kind of language to describe it, you should probably pay close attention to what happens before and after that number. Let's start with the reality that most people are living. Imagine two people. Let's call them Marcus and David. Both are 25 years old. Both earn roughly the same income. Marcus is the guy at every social gathering. New sneakers every month, latest phone on day one of release, weekend trips posted on Instagram. His lifestyle looks expensive because it is expensive. He tells himself he's living life, enjoying the present, because you only live once. David, on the other hand, drives a 5-year-old car. He brings lunch to work. He doesn't show up to every event. His social media is quiet. People assume he's struggling. But David has a secret that Marcus doesn't. David is building, quietly, aggressively, intentionally building toward that first $100,000. And here's where the story becomes fascinating. At 25, David starts investing $500 every single month. Not in lottery tickets, not in meme coins, not in his cousin's business idea, in a simple, diversified index fund averaging around 10% annual returns historically. In the first year, his returns are almost embarrassingly small. He makes a few $100s from the market. It barely feels worth it. In year 2, same thing. He's grinding, saving, investing, and the numbers look almost insulting compared to the effort. This is the flat part of the curve. This is where 90% of people quit. This is where Marcus laughs and says, "See, investing doesn't work." But David doesn't quit. By year 5, something subtle starts to shift. The returns are now generating their own returns. His money is making money without him lifting a finger. By year 7 or 8, David crosses that first $100,000 mark, and this is the moment everything changes, not just mathematically, but psychologically. Because now his 10% annual return isn't generating a few $100s, it's generating $10,000 a year. That's over $800 a month coming in from doing absolutely nothing. That's a car payment. That's rent in some cities. That's money working for him while he sleeps, while he eats, while he's on vacation. Meanwhile, Marcus is still trading time for money, still starting from zero every single month, still one bad month away from financial stress. Now, let's talk about why psychologically the first $100,000 is harder than any amount after it. It's not just mathematics, it's the war happening inside your head. When you have $10,000 saved and you see a vacation that costs $3,000, you feel like you're losing 30% of your entire net worth. The sacrifice feels enormous. The pain is real. Every dollar you save at the beginning feels like it's costing you something, because it is. You're choosing delayed gratification in a world that is aggressively, constantly, loudly marketing instant gratification to you. Every app, every advertisement, every influencer is telling you to spend right now, enjoy right now, buy right now. And you're sitting there saying no, and it is genuinely hard. But here is the shift that happens after the first $100,000. Suddenly, you start making financial decisions from a position of strength instead of fear. When you have $100,000 working for you, a temporary job loss doesn't feel catastrophic. It feels manageable. You have options. You have breathing room. You have what financial psychologists call a security buffer that changes how your brain processes risk. You start seeing opportunities differently. You start sleeping better. You make better career decisions because you're not desperate. You negotiate better salaries because you can afford to walk away. The money itself becomes a tool that generates confidence, and that confidence generates more money. It's a flywheel effect that most people never get to experience because they never cross that first critical threshold. There's another dimension that nobody talks about, the identity shift. When David crossed $100,000, something changed about how he saw himself. He stopped thinking like a consumer and started thinking like an investor. He stopped asking, "Can I afford this?" and started asking, "What is the return on this?" He stopped reacting to financial stress and started planning around financial goals. This is not a small thing. This identity shift is arguably more valuable than the money itself because it is the mindset that will take him to the next 100,000 in half the time and then the next 100,000 in half of that time again. That is the compounding of mindset working in parallel with the compounding of money.
Now let's be real about the obstacles. Building the first 100,000 is hard for a reason. Most people are not earning enough to save meaningfully while also covering basic living expenses. If you're barely making ends meet, I want you to hear this clearly. Your primary focus before investing must be increasing your income. That might mean developing a skill that the market pays a premium for. That might mean taking on a side income stream. That might mean having uncomfortable conversations about career growth. There is no magic budget trick that turns a cash shortage into a savings surplus. You have to earn more, cut ruthlessly where you can, and then channel the gap into building wealth. It is simple to understand and genuinely difficult to execute. That difficulty is why most people don't do it, and that is exactly why the people who do it end up in a completely different financial reality by the time they're 40. The strategy that actually works is almost boring in its simplicity. Automate your investing so the money moves before you ever see it. Pick investment vehicles with low fees and broad market exposure. Never interrupt compounding unless it is a true emergency. Increase your savings rate every single time your income increases before your lifestyle has a chance to inflate. And most importantly, protect your long-term thinking from short-term noise because the market will crash, the news will be terrifying, and your emotions will tell you to pull out at exactly the wrong moment. The people who build serious wealth are not necessarily the smartest people in the room. They are the most consistent people in the room. They're the ones who showed up quietly for years while everyone else was distracted. Think about where Marcus and David are at 45. Marcus is still working because he has to, still living paycheck to paycheck with better furniture and a bigger mortgage, wondering where all those years went. David crossed his first 100,000 in his early 30s. His second 100,000 came faster, and the compounding has been doing its quiet, relentless work ever since. By 45, David is looking at a portfolio that could realistically generate enough passive income to cover his lifestyle, not because he was born lucky, not because he had a rich family, but because he understood one fundamental principle and had the discipline to live by it. The first 100,000 is the foundation. Everything else is the building that rises on top of it. The question I want to leave you with today is this. Where are you right now in your journey toward that first 100,000, and what is the single biggest thing that has been stopping you from getting there? Is it income, discipline, knowledge, or something else entirely? Drop your honest answer in the comments below because that conversation might be exactly what someone else watching this video needs to hear right now. And if this kind of real, no-fluff financial thinking is what you want more of, then Money Mentor is where you need to be. Subscribe because your financial future is worth more than passive scrolling.